What's up, YouTube? It's your boy 24 Pause back at this bit. And today we got most painful motorcycle deaths ever. Let's check it out. Remember to like the video. Original video later down my description.
In the summer of 2021, on a remote highway in Turkey, a young man deeply in love with his motorcycle woke up to a nice sunny day and decided that it was the best time to take his bike out for a spin. A nice leather jacket with protective boots, gloves, and a helmet was what this man quickly threw on before going out for the ride. Just kidding, he decided that he didn't want to wear any of that since it's a hot summer day. But on the bright side, at least he decided to keep his helmet on, right?
No.
After making sure that he was wearing no protective gear at all, this rider would then take his sport bike for a nice calm ride of 120 miles per hour. After hitting the highways, the rider couldn't contain himself and began speeding as fast as possible on his bike. However, unbeknownst to him, a steep turn with a guardrail would appear on the highway out of nowhere. Unable to correct his path in time, he was flung from the bike and hurled face first into the corner of a steel guardrail. The impact was so violent that it completely removed the entire front of his head and face. His eyes, nose, jaw, and facial skin were instantly torn away, leaving only the back of his skull intact. Bystanders who arrived moments later could hardly process what they were seeing. It looked less like an accident and more like a war zone. They searched for his body, and upon a glimpse, were instantly traumatized since it didn't really look like a human anymore. Bystanders did what they could, but unfortunately, he never had a chance. Emergency responders pronounced him unresponsive at the scene. This next situation falls just past midnight on April 1st, 2025 in Phuket, Thailand.
Be safe on the motorbikes, yo.
The streets were mostly empty, the air was heavy, and it was the kind of night that felt slower than it actually was. But not for one guy. This rider was flying down Bypass Road on a red and black Honda Forza. Probably just out for a ride, maybe trying to clear his head, maybe just pushing the throttle for the thrill of it. Whatever the reason, he was moving fast. Very fast. Then, in a split second, everything went wrong. He lost control of the bike, and with no time to correct and no time to react, he slammed straight into an electricity pole. The crash wasn't just bad, it was horrific. The impact was so violent that it cut his body in half. His upper half was found under the pole. His lower half? Thrown almost 200 feet down the road. His heart and organs were scattered across the scene, and somehow his helmet was still on, but it didn't save him. Not from that. They later confirmed he was a Russian national. They never released his name and just let his story be another brutal reminder of how unforgiving speed can be. You always think it won't happen to you, until it does. The haircut incident. In Manacapuru, Brazil, a small riverside town that doesn't usually make international headlines would go viral for once, but for all the wrong reasons. A man was riding his motorcycle through the city streets, and from the looks of it, he wasn't really going slow. While another biker was trying to make a left turn, the man unknowingly would get into a head-on collision with him, and the crash would be so forceful that it would launch him right off of his bike, straight onto his head. And surprisingly, the accident wasn't too detrimental. He only suffered a couple of cuts and sprains to his body. That's what I would say if he was wearing a helmet, but once again, this rider decided to ride without one. Instead, when he crashed and landed on his head, the force of the impact was so intense that it ripped the skin right off his scalp. It wasn't just a cut or a gash. His scalp was completely peeled back, exposing raw bone. And when I say raw bone, I literally mean that his skull, muscle, and the whole horrifying anatomy of a human head were exposed to the world. A lot of people were confused by the bizarre nature of the accident and couldn't really understand how it could happen to a person. But, horrifyingly enough, it happens a lot. The injury is called degloving. Imagine the skin on your body being torn off like a glove. Probably not the best thing to imagine, but that's what doctors describe it as, and that's what happened to this man. The fire truck incident. On the 15 freeway in Rancho Cucamonga, California, a routine night drive turned into a deadly inferno, and it all started with a motorcyclist and a semi-truck. The exact reason isn't clear. No one knows if the biker swerved, miscalculated, or just didn't see the truck coming. But what we do know is that he collided with the big rig at freeway speed, which is anywhere from 65 to 85 miles per an hour, and the impact was devastating. As if smashing into a semi-truck on a motorcycle isn't already bad enough, the biker would be trapped underneath the vehicle while its diesel leaked out of its fuel tank. And unfortunately for him, the sparks from the accident would light both his motorcycle and the 30,000-pound semi-truck up in a blaze. The truck driver was quick enough to escape, but once again, since the biker was trapped, he was engulfed in what would be known as one of the biggest fires the freeway had seen in years. This fire was so big that it took 3 fire engines to try to control the blaze, and the highway was shut down for hours. When they finally arrived at his body, they immediately called it the sign incident. In Thailand, sometime around 2019, on a highway just outside of Bangkok, where traffic moves fast and helmet laws are, let's say, loosely followed, a guy, once again, not wearing a helmet, was riding his motorcycle at a high rate of speed, zooming in and out of traffic. While going down the road, his bike would randomly hit a pothole, and his attempt to avoid it would be where things went horribly wrong. He heavily swerved and got launched off his bike so forcefully that it'd throw him airborne and he'd go flying for a few seconds. Which actually sounds kind of fun, because bouncing and flying around in a controlled area is usually a fun experience. Whether you've gone bungee jumping, skydiving, or have randomly experienced flying in your dreams, I'd say it's a pretty enjoyable thing. Just not when you go flying headfirst into a road sign, which is what happened to this guy. He was flung so hard at the road sign that it perfectly decapitated his head and left his body continuing on with its momentum. And disturbingly, his head actually hit the sign so hard that it became stuck to it. The scene was so brutal that it even traumatized seasoned first responders. And obviously, sadly, he passed away. The paper incident. In late 2015, a motorcyclist in Shenzhen, or Guangzhou, a busy Chinese city, was on his way to work when he stumbled across heavy traffic and a very large cement mixing truck on the road. As is common in densely populated urban cities, he began lane splitting in between traffic to get through the cars. Funnily enough, this is actually a good thing for most bikers to do, as lane splitting lessens congested traffic and heavily reduces the risk of motorcycles getting rear-ended by cars that don't see them. So this rider gets a gold star for practicing smart riding. Ironically, however, when the light turned green, he accidentally dropped his bike and fell off of it right in front of that ginormous cement mixing truck I mentioned earlier. Panic exploded out from bystanders, and they would all try to get the trucker to stop driving, but by the time he had even noticed he rode over anything, it was already too late. All 12 wheels of the 30,000-pound truck trampled over his body. The rider wasn't just crushed, he was effectively flattened into the road's pavement. Witnesses and first responders described his body as being no thicker than a sheet of paper on the road. City sanitation workers and police disturbingly had to resort to using shovels to scrape his body off the road and put it into a dustpan. His body was so pulverized that he couldn't even be put into a casket for burial. I don't really know why you like traumatizing yourself with stories like these, but that's all for now. Have a happy day.
Talking hat, bro. Me and you got beef, but I love your videos, man. Keep coming with them. They is fire. Now remember to drop a like on the video, man. We out.